So I'm going to LLC Japanese. That's how I'm going to log in. And then you can click on Rosetta Stone. Okay. So Rosetta Stone, and then go to Rosetta Stone again. All right. And here are instructions. There's also some more information here. Level 1 students, start with, if you're true beginner, you're going to want to start with Unit 1. If you're, have known a little bit of Japanese or, then Unit 2 is probably fine. Our email address is over here. The virtual LLC, so our hours, virtual LLC, we're open Monday through Thursday, 9:30 to 5:30. So that means there's a lot of time during the weekend and stuff we're not available. You can, if it's about how Rosetta Stone is working, you can contact them directly. It usually takes a while, like the chat wait, or if you're chatting or doing it on via phone, it takes some time to get through and to talk to them, but they usually will answer that. All right, so instructions here for Rosetta Stone, and probably the most important part of this, because I'm going to talk about everything else, the most important part is at the end where it starts talking about the apps. So you have a special login for Mount SAC, and you have an SSO code. SSO code means single sign-on, and single sign-on means that you're going to use your portal username and password. So biggest thing when you're trying to log into Rosetta Stone app, if it's asking you for money, you're in the wrong area. Okay. You should, if you're doing it correctly, you should see a screen eventually that shows you the Mount SAC logo, and then that's where you know that you're going to put in your username and password. Okay. All right. So I want to close this. So logging into Rosetta Stone, Japanese, you're going to use your Mount SAC username and password. So it's free for all Mount SAC students, and you can use it from home, anywhere. The app does get pretty tiny, especially for some of your hiragana and so forth, but you can try that out. This down here, this activity hours, it's not going to show that the very first time that you log in, okay? So the very first time, you will not see this. You have to actually do some activity hours before you will, the next time you log in, you will see some activity hours here, okay? So if your professor's requiring 2 hours, then you'll be able to keep track. If you've never used Rosetta Stone before, then whatever time you see here will show you your 2 hours. So if you're trying to match that 2 hours, a couple things you need to know. One is that Rosetta Stone only counts active interaction with the app as time. So clicking or you're recording, something like that. But if you're, have the page up and you're making flashcards for yourself from it, or writing notes to yourself or something, that is not going to count as active time with the software. So you may spend 2 hours in front of Rosetta Stone And at the end of it, maybe Rosetta Stone says you only spent 33 minutes being active. Okay. So my suggestion, especially since this doesn't follow your textbook exactly, just go through it as quickly as you can. I made the mistake. When I first tried using Rosetta Stone, I was making notes to myself and stuff. I wanted to remember this. That's not the way to do it, because Rosetta Stone repeats. So that's how you're going to learn it, is not by writing it down and keeping notes. It's that, 5 days from now, it's going to keep, Rosetta Stone's going to repeat the information back to you in different ways, and it's going to stick with you. Okay. All right. Besides the activity hours not showing up at the beginning, the other thing, the very first thing you have to do is fill out a little survey. It's a goals survey, like how many minutes a day, or, why are you doing the Rosetta Stone? Just fill that out as quickly as you can also. Basically, this is what you're looking for. You're trying to get here to foundation, and that's where the actual Rosetta Stone software starts. So all of this is a dashboard, and I click on foundations. That's where I'm starting. Okay? So it's coming. You do need to allow the microphone. All right, so if you don't allow the microphone, you're only going to be able to do about 5% of Rosetta Stone. And usually it doesn't work out very well. All right, so you need to be in a location where you can allow the microphone. Doesn't have to be totally silent location, but it does. You need to limit how much background noise there is, because when Rosetta Stone is recording, there's no stop button. Rosetta Stone is listening for silence. So if you finish your answer, but there's still people talking in the background or children playing in the background, that you're going to get a lower score. It's going to tell your pronunciation is not good, etc., that kind of thing, and it's going to get frustrating. You're going to be like, this lousy software, what the heck? Okay. So just a little overview. Each unit has 4 lessons. The first lesson is very short. The second lesson is a little bit longer. It includes some repetition of lesson 1. The third lesson is even longer. And the fourth lesson is even longer. And it includes, I don't know if you can see down there, the milestone. The milestone is like a unit test. So it's checking, did you really understand what you've learned? Okay. So also you can see it has minutes here. And you're like, why is the very longest lesson the very first lesson? Okay. So that is because that's the core lesson, what they call the core lesson. That's an introduction to all of the vocabulary, all the grammar, all the pronunciation that's in the lesson. So Rosetta Stone does not expect you to get 100% on the core lesson, all right? Because it's just introducing the ideas to you, the vocabulary and stuff, and it wants you, so it's trying to create little holes in your brain so that later when you repeat this information, that's where the information is going to fall, okay? So one thing I do cheat is often I will go down to the vocabulary and I will start just with the vocabulary lesson and do that first and then go back to the core lesson. Usually Unit 1, that's not going to be an issue. If you get up into higher units, it becomes more difficult. It keeps building, okay? They keep adding, so they start with words, then they go to a couple of words, and then they go to phrases, and they go to longer phrases, and so forth. So they keep building. Up here, show menu, this is where you can change units. So if you're not a true beginner, go ahead and start in Unit 2, because if you're totally bored, you're not going to learn anything, right? So students sometimes think that doing things that they know is easy and stuff. Yeah, maybe it's easy, but it's also boring. So actually trying areas and lessons that you don't know, that's going to challenge you and challenge your brain and get your brain to working and trying to get through it. So you can go to different units. All right, so I want to go here to core lesson. Now I show you some examples. All right, so if you get a really low score, or if you started the lesson but you probably already forgot everything, you can say just reset my score. It'll start you at the beginning again. Every time you log into Rosetta Stone, you have to set up your microphone. And that's partly because some days you talk like this, and some days you talk like this, right? So every time you have to set up your microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so you want to see this.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
So, whenever you see in Rosetta Stone, sorry, I'm trying to draw, this black box here, so the words have moved up, and then you see the black box, that means Rosetta Stone wants you to speak your answer, okay? So it wants you to speak your answer. Also, you'll notice this is hiragana. Down here, well, so right now, okay, let's go with a stamp instead of trying to draw. Down here, you'll see a hiragana. If I click on that, okay, I can change it to kanji with the furigana above it. Hey, I want to pause you. You can also go to the romaji. To be honest with you, I think romaji is the hardest to see the patterns in. Rosetta Stone doesn't translate. You can see just from this, right? They use pictures and they want your brain to find patterns and to make logical decisions, and they want you to make mistakes. You know, as students, a lot of times we're programmed not to make mistakes, you know, and we want to go slowly and thoroughly. I'm telling you, with Rosetta Stone, go as fast as you can, make as many mistakes as you can. You will learn a lot from the mistakes. That all the brain research says we learn most from the mistakes we make, okay? So finding patterns, in my opinion, is much easier if you do the kanji or the hiragana. But, you know, you have your choice. You can play with that. And on my computer right now, it's down here. If you enlarge the screen or whatever, sometimes then the bottom controls will move to the left of the screen. Okay, just FYI. This is like a stoplight. When it dings, that's when you start talking. Konnichiwa. Again,
Konnichiwa.
no stop button. It just listens for the silence.
女の子、男の子。
So
女の子
this is what I call the study page. So this up here,
女の子
is it going to be the boy or the girl? Well, if you guess wrong, or guess
男の
right.
子
So there's only two choices there. So you're going to either guess right or wrong, right?
女の子
All right. So we already talked about that. This
女
is pronunciation. I want to show some other types.
女の人、男の人、男の人、
Okay. So again, study, and then you have a couple of choices.
ジュース、ジュース、ジュース、
All right. So this is another style of lesson. And basically, so they want you to choose from these little pictures up here. Which one? So I'm going to go with juice.
ジュース、お茶、お茶、
All right. So I'm pretty sure that's not going to be water and not going to be juice. So I'm going to go with tea.
お茶、水、
And then that leaves the last one I'm going to guess is water.
水、
It automatically moves to the next one.
女の子は食べています。女の子はジュースを飲んでいます。
Okay.
男の子は水を飲んでいます。
All right. So again, this is the study. You have a little magnifier glass there where you can make it bigger. Okay. So you can see it. And you're following a pattern, right? So if you see something and again, if you guess wrong,
男の子は食べています。
all right, let's see.
女の子はジュースを飲んでいます。
So now we've gone through, we've learned all these individual vocabularies and stuff, and this one's just a little bit harder where they want to know, is it the girl drinking juice? Is it the boy drinking water? The girl eating or the boy eating? Okay. So you can take your guess.
男の子は水を飲んでいます。
All right. So this is Rosetta Stone. Go as quickly as you can. Make your guesses, and it's going to keep repeating. Okay. So don't worry about that. There are under Explore All content. You might get some on-demand videos that get unlocked if you're interested in those. There are some stories that you can practice your reading. If I know this audio doesn't go with your textbook, but if you wanted to, Rosetta Stone allows you to download all the audio and put it on a USB drive or something and listen to it. Okay? All right. So before I end with Rosetta Stone, do you have a question for me? All right. Thank you. So I'm going to, if you've done other languages, by the way, you can always go to your profile here and your edit sign-in information. And you can change the language, so you can go back and forth between different languages. Rosetta Stone is part of our contest, one of our contests. So every Thursday we check to see who's done at least 30 minutes in Rosetta Stone, and then we send them a little digital passport, little stamp saying congratulations. At the end of the summer, we'll give a $10 gift card to whoever's done, out of all the languages, done the most work in Rosetta Stone.